Welcome to TJ3C Word.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sincere. How's your day going?
Man, it's productive, man. Shout out to you,
Yeah.
DJ360 EQ Live Studio. We in the
So,
building.
all
You
right.
already know what it
So
is.
let's start from the beginning, right? Tell me about your upbringing, born and raised.
All right, so I'll try to be brief because I can go on and on. So originally, from Ohio, I moved from Ohio to the southeast where I live with my grandmother. Well, let me back up. So my parents were separated when I was a kid.
Okay.
I was living with my mother at some point in my life, and I was living with my father at some point in my life. So two different grandmothers. So in southeast, I was living with my father. In Ohio, I was living with my grandmother and my mom.
Okay.
And I didn't know I had a sister. I do have a brother as well. I discovered I had a sister sometime in my adolescence as well because we were separated, so I didn't even know I had a sister. Oddly enough, but yeah, man, it was rough growing up. Two different worlds because in Southeast it was rough, shootings. I ate more off-brand food there than I went to Ohio. I feel like I was kind of spoiled because my grandmother was all about buying me shoes and eating a certain way. So it was two different worlds though, two different worlds. And eventually we moved together to Maryland, where I grew up and spent a lot of my years, of course, in elementary, Princeton Elementary. Went to Thurgood Marshall Middle School, Crossland. Shout out to Crossland. And then that's how that went. And then they got a divorce in my early 20s. So
Okay. So how did that affect you as far as the separation growing up?
um, it was interesting. When you're that young, you're not really affected. It didn't really start to, because I mean they got back together
Hmm.
when we started to go from elementary to middle school. So I got to see both parents,
Okay.
although they weren't really home. It was still a lot of financial struggles, a whole lot of drama with infidelity.
Okay.
But it affected me more so. I think during my adolescent years where I felt like my father. I mean, he was present, but he's always at work.
Okay.
So I felt like his presence wasn't as dominant as needed to be. So my mom was kind of left to kind of spearhead the situation and kind of raise me more so than anything.
Okay. So as far as the violence in the environment you grew up in, right? How what did you witness as far as extreme part of it? Like
Um,
any killing? I know it's always been shooting around there,
yeah,
but like any
shootings.
personal like traumatic experience that most kids kind of experience in that area?
Other than fights, I got stabbed in my back when I was.
Stab?
Yeah, I got stabbed in my back. So right here, as you can see, where they cut me open, and I could get up and show you my back, but I don't feel like doing that. But I got hit in my back, right near my spinal cord, and I was in like this a scuffle. There's a couple of dudes. There was me and my previous best friend at the time, who was a gang member, and I wasn't. So picture it, me being, I knew better. I was more conscious than he was, but
Mm-hmm.
around him, I found myself being stupid. You would kind of think you're guiding him, but he's guiding me into a dark path. But anyway, got into a scuffle, fall back, stabbed me in my back, and sometimes I can't recount the details of it because I can go into extreme anger or I can go into extreme sadness. But that happened to me, and that definitely changed me. It made me more fearless. And prior to that, growing up, of course, being a youth, you either got to roll with a certain entourage or be by yourself. And I chose to be by myself, and a lot of my friends got into drugs and violence. We went from football playing with yo-yos and shit to like natty toting guns. I mean, selling weed, selling crack. So, and this is in any urban neighborhood, no matter where you at. So I chose to be to myself, and I would find myself in more little situations where I either get jumped because I ain't had no backing, or I had to fight on my own, and then of course I had my little issues with or my awareness of wanting to buy guns as well, and almost got my hand on a few, but I think the universe that I didn't because it could have turned very 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 sour. But yeah, I had my own post traumatic situation. So other than witnessing it, I was the actual victim in it.
Okay.
You know.
So as far as you growing up in that environment, like what do you think kind of like trigger people to be that violent? Because if you look at it, right, it's not like you grew up in a neighborhood where it's a mix of like white, Mexican, or whatever the case might be. It's just the same kids with the same skin color, and what's creating the hate towards each other?
Well, I would say economical disenfranchisement. Not understanding that you already are disenfranchised, and it's a cycle, man, that was created in the '80s, of course. And it actually dates back to the '60s. You want to talk about the Panthers, But that whole Reaganomics, the whole situation with crack cocaine being introduced to the neighborhoods, and the whole prison mentality, pants hanging off your ass, is just this cycle of black youth who and oddly enough, man, to kind of not digress but veer off, I had both parents. I was struggling more than my friends who had one parent. Like they were doing better than me. Like my fucking lights were off. I was cooking in the microwave at times where I had to make all my food in the microwave. Sometimes electricity was off. I didn't have company. I would go over a lot of friends' houses. Didn't have games. So it's a lot that I was ashamed of growing up. But I just think it's plain old economical disenfranchisement. Not being financially literate. Your parents not having the time to teach you what money is and how to understand it. And all you're trying to do is survive growing up.
So it's more of like the environment, the way you're saying it now, and I've heard it so many times. The environment kind of create those kind of behavior from people. So as far as the music, how was the music influence for you growing up around that time? Like
Well,
your father collected record, like he was playing record in the
yeah,
house.
yeah, yeah. Actually, so my cousin Herbie Hancock, man. So music stems from that root. And my father played in the band. When he was in the military, he sold drugs as well. But he was very musically inclined. My sister played several different instruments. So and then my brother, of course, introduced me to just how to write the verses. I didn't know how to write bars, so my brother kind of introduced me to it. So I grew up on a lot of '90s hip hop that I didn't understand at the time, but now I understand a lot of the messages now that I'm a little more up in age.
Okay.
And I would say that the music basically talked about the environment I lived in, so it's easy to relate to it. But I always knew who I was. I was always conscious. They called me the preacher kid when I was growing up, even though I didn't go to church. I always had this enlightenment about me, and I feel like my wisdom was there, but I didn't have no experience. So now that I'm here, my experience caught up to my wisdom. But I feel like a lot of it is less environment. It's more psychological.
Okay.
Like they keep the psychological warfare going on. So your environment, for example, if you go into a house and it's already clean, you're gonna have more respect for that house.
Yeah.
But if you go into that house and it has shit stains on the carpet and roaches, then you may not have the same respect for that particular house. So things look a certain way based on how the person thinks and feels. So as long as they keep you feeling that way, you're gonna keep your environment that way. So it's more so psychological than it is environment.
So as far as your education is concerned, have you taken it? Did you take any music classes in high school?
Yeah, I did. So in high school, I did more so. I formed little groups in like middle school, high school, but I got to college, and my major was mass communications. So I did some radio classes. I did public speaking. I did anything that was related to mass comm at that time. So yeah, I didn't take any. I took music theory, but I didn't really take any engineering classes or anything like that. A lot of that I picked up co-production when I was in the studio. I didn't actually go to school for that particular part.
Okay, as far as speaking of the mic, right? When did that happen?
14.
Oh, okay.
I got into the studio. I was 14 first time. My homie Noya, his dad, they was making an album, and they just wanted to use it on the record. So I wrote my first verse, recorded it. But prior to that, I used to walk around the neighborhood, go to the laundromat, and freestyle. We had like little battles in the neighborhood. But I was I picked up the mic at 14.